How's it going, everyone? It's me, Vivi, and welcome to a Jak and Daxter discussion video. So, in my opinion, Jak and Daxter has the worst fate out of the bunch. The bunch being Ratchet Clank and Sly Cooper. Remember back in the day how these three games were so iconic? The characters, how the developers were so close to each other, especially Naughty Dog and Insomniac Games. But anyways, what I mean by worst fate is the possibility of another Jak and Daxter game. It's completely up in the air, and it just doesn't seem to be a necessity. Did we ever get a bad cliffhanger? Not really. Do we have this huge unanswered question left to solve? Some might argue the whole story about Mar, if Jak is Mar or not, but that aside, I feel like it's not necessary. Are sequels always necessary? Absolutely not. And this applies to movies especially. When you watch a film, you enjoy the first movie, right? Well, maybe not, but once a sequel gets released, you watch it and then you tell yourself, was this sequel even necessary? It was terrible. So no, Jak and Daxter, honestly, we do not need a sequel, but us fans want a sequel. When we play the games, we analyze certain aspects from the game's characters and stories, and we feel like they can work with some of these things and make a game out of it. One big example is Mar himself. Remember the fan-made title, Jak 4: The Legend of Mar? Here's another example. Gol and Maya returning. Remember when Samo said maybe they're not dead, something like that along those lines in Jak 1? Yeah, these are the types of ideas I'm talking about. It's not like the series needs to answer these questions. They're not really necessary, but they could make a great game out of these two. So to re-summarize, to clear things up, do we really need a Jak and Daxter sequel? No, but would would you guys like to have a sequel? I'm gonna go on ahead and say absolutely. Comparing the situation of Jak and Daxter to Sly Cooper, it is obvious. That game needs a sequel. At least a short game. Or at least a comic to fix that cliffhanger. That is a huge no-no. Now Sly 5 is unlikely to happen. One can hope it happens. Sly Cooper 5. There is material to work with. The main protagonist going back home. He's stuck in the past. They need to fix that. Because it sucks. Badly. Ratchet and Clank. Well, it's Ratchet and Clank. Technically, apart from the reimagining, Ratchet and Clank, it's the same as Jak and Daxter. A sequel is not necessary. It's not as if a story is left to solve. But I would love Insomniac Games to explore the whole story about the Lombaxes. Ratchet visiting that dimension, for example. They could add that into the new game and explore new things. And by doing so, it's gonna make fans wonder, okay, they added this new story element to the game, so I'm assuming in the next game they're going to solve insert name here. Let me re-explain what I just said. It probably sounded a bit off. Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, yes, there is material to work with, to be technical. The Lombaxes, that's material, but Sly Cooper, there is material, but it's material which will fix the series. Tighten loose ends, right? So yeah, with Ratchet and Clank, it's obvious. Seeing as how it's popular, that's enough to convince one that there is going to be more games in the future. Jak and Daxter, sadly, Naughty Dog outright came out and said no, we're not interested. Remember their failed attempt at Jak 4? What was that? According to Neil Druckmann, who was creative director of The Last of Us, said that the team of The Last of Us was originally formed to produce Jak 4. Well, Druckmann called it a reboot, but in the book called The Art of Naughty Dog, it says Jak 4. But anyways, Druckmann knew it wasn't right. He thought they were doing it for marketing reasons. I mean, look at these characters. Are you serious? In 2015, Naughty Dog came out and said, no, we're not interested with cartoony games anymore. Josh Scher said, no, we don't miss the style of Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter. Nice. Okay, nice. But there's this thing called variety. I do not get it, but anyways. So bye-bye Jak and Daxter, right? Here's the deal. Sly Cooper was always loved by Sucker Punch. They moved on, and they still do have passion for kid-friendly games. They never came out and said, no, we hate kid-friendly games, we're not interested. No, they never said that. They just wanted to try new things. Naughty Dog just straight up said, nope, nuh-uh, nope, enough with these cartoony games. Shaking my head. I don't hate Naughty Dog, I really enjoyed Uncharted The Lost Legacy, but like I said a couple of seconds ago, there's variety that exists. Why doesn't the team follow that? Sure, make mature, realistic, graphic-intense games, but why not eventually make a small team and work on a Jak and Daxter style game? I believe it's not gonna happen, and why? Because the team is no longer the same. That is it, that is all. The team just doesn't have the mindset they had in the past. People who worked on Jak and Daxter in the past, they're no longer part of the team. So seeing as how they handled Jak 4, what they thought of the next sequel, no thank you, I do not want Jak to end up in their hands. And why? Because at a point it's probably just gonna sound like fan service. Okay, we decided to make Jak 4 finally. It's probably gonna end up being a rushed mess. Seeing as how the team changed, it's just going to be done for marketing, like Druckmann said. And apparently Druckmann, he liked what they did to Daxter? And what? Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but that is not Daxter. I'm sorry. Now, the question is, will another team pick up Jak and Daxter? Who will it be? I would say Ready at Dawn, the creators behind Daxter on the PSP. What about Insomniac Games? Nope. One day, well, a few weeks ago, I think, yeah, it was a few weeks ago, I asked Insomniac Games if they would ever make Jak 4. If, let's say, Sony approaches the team and tells them, hey, do you guys want to make Jak 4? Insomniac Games replied with a simple no. Very straightforward answer, and I think they replied within like 5 minutes. Daxter, I liked. The team mentioned its 11th anniversary, so they haven't forgotten about the Ottsel. So what happens now? What's next? Ready at Dawn would have to approach Sony with a prototype for Jak 4. Would Sony say no? That is the mystery. Sly Cooper 5. Why isn't it happening? 90% of the fan base feel like it's due to the sales of Sly Cooper 4. Yes, the sales were bad compared to the previous games. Now, The Lost Frontier on the PS2 is currently at 460,000 units sold globally. As for the PSP version, 610,000. But within the first year, the sales were poor, like below 100,000, which is not good. And by the way, Lost Frontier was originally planned to be developed by Naughty Dog. Would you look at that? I wonder how the game would have turned out. And why did they scrap the idea? They were busy with Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. So they passed on the project to high-impact games. Many fans hate The Lost Frontier, but IGN and GameSpot, they gave it a 7.4 and a 7.5, which is higher than the passing mark, I'd say. So, how can Jak 4 happen? Two things. One is passion. We need a team who's interested with the franchise. And two, will Sony say yes or no, seeing as how The Lost Frontier sold back in the day? You know what's funny? Jak and Daxter, there are two things in the way. Sly Cooper, there's one. As for Ratchet Clank, there's none. Jak and Daxter, two things. We need a team and Sony's permission. Sly Cooper, we only need Sony's permission, since our Games is apparently still interested with Sly Cooper. As for Ratchet Clank, the team's interested and Sony would easily say yes, seeing as how the reimagining sold on the PS4. Next thing I want to say, Bruce Straley left Naughty Dog. He was the co-director of Uncharted 2, Uncharted 4, and The Last of Us. So he recently left the studio. Does that impact the fate of Jak and Daxter? Are the chances of Jak 4 higher? No, this does not mean anything, alright? I wouldn't put the blame on him, seeing as how he worked as an artist for the first 3 games, Jak 1, 2, and 3. So now, I guess we have to wait. Jak 4 happening, it's unlikely, to be honest. As for the collection we got back in 2012, it didn't sell that well. Today we have the Precursor Legacy on the PS4. As for Jak X, 2, and 3, we don't know the release dates yet. Sony is very quiet on the subject, for some reason. Last thing before I wrap up the video, Rainmaker! Does that name sound familiar to you guys? It probably does. Remember when I made a video going over Rainmaker saying that, oh, the Jak and Daxter movie is in development? Yeah, about that. Seeing as how they handled the whole situation with the Sly Cooper movie, oh, apparently they're not involved in the production of the film anymore. Oh, and the film apparently is going to happen second, after the TV show. Yeah. We'll see about that. But anyways, seeing as how they're no longer involved with the production of the movie, a Jak and Daxter movie, it's not possible. If they scrapped Sly Cooper, the movie, why would they go to Jak and Daxter next? If they had doubts about Sly Cooper, the movie, why would they suddenly jump to Jak and Daxter? Yeah, I don't think so. So with that being said, guys, this is it for the video. So in the comment section below, tell me, is Jak 4 necessary? I'm not saying no, I don't want to see Jak 4, but let's be a bit realistic here. Is it necessary? Is there something left to solve? All we do know right now is a bunch of us want a sequel, but that's all. If a sequel is truly necessary, then explain that to me in the comment section below. And yep, as always, I've been Vivi, and thank you for watching.